Alright, so welcome to video number 2 of the 4-video series for the training camp to make your agency one of the top 5% in your company. Alright, so today I promised you that I would show you a video on how we're going to start laying the foundation and making this a reality for you. Alright, so it starts with a few different concepts, I want to go through those one by one. Also, and I'll mention this in a little bit more detail, below you'll see a link also with the free templates, and I'm going to kind of go over those a little bit, so don't jump into them quite yet, and show you just, how those are going to be able to help you. So when I thought about this whole foundation and thought about exactly what I needed to do to start these processes, remember that's what we want to look at. We want to look at developing automatic processes that we can use throughout our entire agency. Because we don't have the big bank accounts like we talked about, and we don't, we don't have the time or the need, desire, whatever we want to call it, to spend 60, 70 hours a week grinding out. Also, did you do your excuse list? I'm really hoping you did. I hope you saw your excuse list, and I hope you either crumpled it up, or right now, if you haven't, get it in front of you and just rip it up. Because those excuses need to be gone. Like I said, you cannot move on until those excuses, those myths are dead in your mind, and you got to get past them. All right, so here was the first thing that I did. In fact, there's 3 key things that I want to go through first about laying this foundation for these processes. So when you look at your staff, that's one of the biggest things about running your agency. And the first thing I had to realize is what really set the concrete foundation was a corporate approach almost to running your staff. I'm not saying we want to make our agency corporate, because that's what makes us different as a local business. But as far as our staff is concerned, we do have to do that. I'm going to explain why. So the first rule of thumb is what I have here, which is treat one like 100. And what I mean by that is if you have 1, 2, 3 staff members, treat them like you have 100 staff members. All right, and that's where those templates are going to come into play, because what those are, they're black and white processes that everybody has to follow. There's not going to be any questions about what's going on. Everybody has a specific way to do something, and there's no mishmash. I don't know about you, but what ended up happening in my agency is I would have maybe the same process done 4 different ways by 4 different people, and that creates confusion, less consistency, and there's no process definition at all in there. So that's the first thing you have to do, is every single process that you ever implement in your agency, got to get this 1 as 100 concept into your mind. You have to pretty much write it out, script it out as if you were presenting this to 100 people to follow. I go back to a company, say like McDonald's, who has one of the best processes ever. You don't have people on their line making a Big Mac 3 different ways. There's only one way to make a Big Mac, and they all know how to do it. And if they don't do it the right way, somebody tells them and corrects them on it. Okay, so that's the 1 as 100 concept, and it's a real crucial point to all of this. Black and white processes, I just talked about a little bit, but basically what that means is this is how you do it, and there is no deviation from it. Now, I'm not talking about sales scripts or what they're saying on the phone here. I'm talking about your actual hard processes. How they're asking for referrals, cross-sells, how they're actually doing maybe a vehicle change, a policy information change, how they're setting appointments, what their requotes look like, what the system looks like as they're performing day in and day out. That needs to be black and white. All right, because there needs to be no gray area for people to try to get away with doing their own thing. And especially in sales, you know that with salespeople, they'll try to convince you otherwise, and you can't let that happen. So if you have a black and white process, which that's what these templates do for you, there's no deviation from it whatsoever. In the actual templates that I show you, you got a few in there. So you got a couple ones that have to do with vehicle changes, policy changes, that really protect you as the agency owner from any E&O issues. Also, I have my 3W sheet in there, and that's the proper way to really easily ask for referrals and cross-sells. It's a very low threshold thing for the customer to go ahead and answer for you. So those templates are going to help you out. And there's no confusion. Once you have those out there and you understand that you communicate it to your staff this way, this is how you have to do it, they can't come back and say they didn't know. All right, and then the last thing that I realized is staff segmentation, and you probably heard this before, but I can't tell you how crucial it is. Now, some of you might only have 1 or 2 staff members, so you might not be able to have 1 person for claims, 1 person for sales, 1 person for service, 1 admin, 1 office manager, and I get that. But you need to be able to segment as much as possible, especially in your sales area. If you have somebody that is sales dedicated, what that means is that their phone does not ring into them unless it's a sales call. call, and that's all they're performing on a daily basis. If you have a service person, that is what they're doing. They're doing service. If you have an admin, they are doing administrative things, either helping out the service representative with paperwork or helping out the sales representative with paperwork. So what happens is everybody is focused on their particular job with these particular processes, and they are able to focus on them 100%. All right, and that's going to just increase productivity tenfold. All right, so let's talk about a little bit more about what these processes do off these templates I've given you. And there's more templates in there than the 3 I mentioned. The other thing that this is going to do for you, it's going to create accountability, right? So what happens is you now know what your staff is supposed to be doing in a day. You're just not letting them loose and say, okay, go get them. You know, when there's a call, do the service work. If, you know, try to get sales today. There's an actual set plan. What I've also included in here is our follow-up closing crusher sales plan. And what that's going to do is for your sales producers, tell them the exact way they need to go about doing their follow-up process for sales. All right, and so you know there's accountability on what they should be doing, and if the results aren't there, if things aren't being done the right way, there's no excuses. Once again, the expectations are very clear. And that's what this gives you is clear expectations. Let me tell you something else that happens. Whenever you end up doing this, whenever you get the staff segmentation done and you also get these processes built out, there is now a huge, huge rise in communication within your agency. The reason for that is if there's a chain broken, a link broken in the chain somewhere, what happens is somebody knows, everybody should know, who's responsible for that missing link. And it's not to get people in trouble, it's just to know where to go back. There's no more blaming on her, blaming on him. If it's one person's responsibility, you now know where the process was broken, and you just go and you can address that. Okay, so that's why a lot of these things are important, and it also gives accountability to each other and the staff. And so what ends up happening is a really cool thing. Once you have the staff segmentation, once you have these processes done, everybody's clicking, everybody then feels important because they have a specific task. What happens when your staff feels important? They feel like they're part of a team. They feel like they're part of something bigger, right? It's not just a job anymore. It's a mission. It's a goal. It's something everybody's working to achieve. They don't want to just not disappoint themselves. They don't want to disappoint their team members that are working just as hard now. All right, and so when you have a full team atmosphere by developing these types of processes, all of a sudden everybody's working towards the same cause. So now it's not anymore, well, we're working to make the owner money. No, we're working to make the agency money so we can all succeed. Okay, now here's a big question, and this is something else we have to address, is, you know, going from not doing this at all to doing this, I obviously had the issue of how am I going to address my staff with this? What am I going to do? And I did it this way. First thing I did was an overall staff meeting. I was pretty blunt with them. And I said, this is some changes that we absolutely have to make in this agency. Here's the job segmentation. This is what you're going to do now. This is what you're going to focus on. This is your sole responsibility. Here's what your expectations are. Those templates I gave you, I laid them in front of them. I said, here's how you're going to do it from now on. We're going to practice it together. Make sure you got it down. And the expectations are very clear. Then what I did is I sat with everybody individually one-on-one. All right, and what I did there was twofold. One, I wanted to go over the new processes, but two, which is another template I put in there for you, is I went into a post-staff interview almost, and that was me really wanted to try to find out who's on board and who's not on board, because you'll find out very quickly if somebody wants to be part of your team or doesn't. If you have a team member that's really shying away from this stuff, they don't want accountability, and that means they probably have been getting away with some things that they're not proud of. So this interview, this post-interview process, and don't tell them it's an interview because you know you don't want to scare them, but the post-interview process, that's really one thing that can do for you, is tell you who should be there and who shouldn't be there, and you'll find out pretty quickly who that is. All right, so I really hope these templates work for you. I want you to look at them. I want you to start thinking about implementing them with your staff segmentation. Need to really have you look at who should fit where in your processes. Okay, and then you know, I just told you how I went about doing it for my staff and kind of transitioning. But here's the key to all of this. All right, so we got the foundation, we got the plan, we got what we want to do. But we need to implement this, and we need to implement it fast. So on the next video, on the next training of our training camp, video number 3, I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to quickly implement this, how you are going to go ahead and start this now in your agency, and where all the pieces of the puzzle are going to fit together. So, you know, within a week or two, you're going to be off and running. All right, you're going to have this foundation, and then we're going to learn also how to build this forward. All right, guys, so join me on video number 3. I want you to kind of go through these templates between now and then. Go through the templates, check it out, think about where all your staff members should be, and you know, see exactly what you can and cannot use, or maybe what you need to change in your agency as far as these templates go. Other than that, I will see you on the next video, video number 3, and I will talk to you later. Bye.